Well, hey, what is going down, everybody? Welcome back to another brand new Am I Still on the Air live from Pandora. We are here with you guys, ready to rock and roll for another spoiler review. And this time, it's Avatar, the way of water. The way of water flows through all of us. And we are here tonight to bring you it in all of its spoiler-filled glory. But you know I don't come alone. Once again, welcome to the show, though. It is Am I on the Air? My name is DONMEGA, and I welcome you once again. And of course, I got my Peeps with me, and of course, along with Peeps, my Frigginz with me. So, what's up, gentlemen?
Yo, yo.
Howdy doody.
I see you.
I see you.
Whoa, hey. I mean, we're friends, but yes, I am excited about this one. It's not like it's been a long time coming or anything. This movie's only been in development for a couple years, I think.
It's just a couple. I find it very interesting. I get really excited when we talk about something that's not in the comic book realm, because and there we kind of have ideas of what each other are going to say or feel or think. But here, I feel like when we do these in a non-comic book related film, it's like I'm not really sure what I'm going to get.
Okay,
exactly.
I think I know what I'm going to get. I'm pretty sure I know, but
I mean, yeah.
I am curious because I know Fred had tweeted out just a little bit ago about how like we haven't really talked about it, right? And that's the thing, a lot of times before we do these spoiler reviews, we don't really talk about it. Like even though like we pretty much talk every day, we're in a group chat, like it's weird. We get out of these big movies and it's kind of like silent all week. And then we're like, let's do this show and then talk about it. So I'm very curious because I cannot recall, since the first movie is so goddamn long ago, where everybody's thoughts were on the first movie. I can't remember if y'all liked it, hated it. So I'm curious to see how it translates into this one. So it's going to be a fun ride as we kind of take this journey. Again, it is spoilers, so I know it is opening weekend. It's only been out for a couple days, but hey, hopefully you've seen it by now. I know a lot of people have. It's made a lot of money already, and it's trucking along. But if you haven't, bookmark this here, come back and check it out after you've seen the movie. But man, Peeps are kind of joking about it, but this is one that, what a journey to get here. It was starting to become an inside joke for many, many years. Like, this movie's never gonna happen, right? This thing, I mean, this movie should have came out in like 2015 and then it was like delayed again and then pushed back again, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna make a couple sequels back to back, and then you're gonna get them back to back, and then that's delayed too. And I mean, God, it was like every year for a while this movie was supposed to come out, and then they were like, yeah, we're going to push it back another year, and then another year, and then another year. So
like we almost had like 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like
right.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, yeah, in this time frame, I mean, we've had 3 Iron Mans, we've had 3 Captain Americas, we've had 4 Thors, we've had a lot of stuff. We've had pretty much an entire DCEU come and go.
We've had 5 Avengers, yeah, or 4.
It's nuts, all in this Avatar time. The original movie 13 years ago, when Avatar 1 came out in 2009, good old 2009. James Cameron working on this movie even for a decade before that, and not being able to make this movie at the time due to technology, right? Like, he knew what he wanted to do, and he knew, I can't make this movie because they just don't have the technology I need yet to be able to do it. And it took to 2009 to be able to kind of get there. I always have kind of a soft place for this movie, just because that was the first Comic-Con that I went to in 2009, and I saw very footage of this in Hall H. They handed out 3D glasses, and we sat back and they showed us about 20 minutes of this movie, and I was just like, oh my God. And I was watching it like in a hall, right? Like up on projector screens. I couldn't imagine what this was going to be like in IMAX and like on a full screen. It just wet my whistle. And it was the early days of Twitter, and I entered a Twitter contest and actually won, and got to actually go to an Avatar party on the rooftop there in San Diego with James Cameron and the whole cast, and it was fantastic. So
I didn't know any of this.
Yes, it was a fun ass time. It was through IGN. Won this party through IGN, and yeah, it was a rooftop party. Zoe Saldana was there, Sigourney Weaver, James Cameron, a whole bunch of different celebrities, and it was an open bar, so it was a fun night.
I was actually at that
totally free.
I was at that same Comic-Con, and I remember on the floor. So I missed the Hall H showing of that, but on the floor they had the big mech unit that Quaritch rides, you know, at the end. And I just remember looking at it. Funny thing is, because the same year, Avatar: The Last Airbender was coming out, and I remember when me and my cousin were referencing this movie, I kept calling it the fake Avatar. I was like, no, that's the fake Avatar. It's not the real Avatar. Little did I know what we were going to get.
I was definitely salty about that. I'm just like, how are they able to do that? This is Avatar: The Last Airbender came out before this. Nope, that's not how rights work.
Yeah. So I mean, I got to do that party. I actually got to play the Avatar video game way back in its early beta before that came out, up on the rooftop there, and so I was stoked. I was built for this movie right out the ground because of the stoke that I had from Comic-Con. And then of course the movie comes out, and I remember that opening weekend it made like, I don't know, 50 million, 60 million, something like that. It wasn't even, I mean, I guess back in those days in 2009, we didn't see a lot of 100+ million openings, right? Like, so it was a decent opening, but we were like, okay, like we'll see what happens. And then you watched it just stay in theaters for month after month after month and just slowly accumulating all this money until it eventually became the biggest movie of all time. I mean, insane. Like, that just showed you, because it was such an experience to go see this movie in the theater, and, you know, with the 3D, right? This was kind of the rebirth of 3D at this moment. You know, there wasn't a lot of 3D movies that hadn't been done in a long time. He brought it back, and it lasted for years after Avatar that people were like, let's do 3D.
And it didn't go away for a long time.
No, but nobody could ever do it the way Avatar did it. I mean, and the way he did it in that first Avatar movie, what was glorious about it was it wasn't like the hokey kind of 3D, right? Like his formatting wasn't like, oh, that tree branch looks like it's coming out in your face, or, you know, like when they're shooting, it looks like the bullets are coming off the screen. Like, he did it to accentuate Pandora. So when you're running through that jungle, you know, you're like, oh man, the tree's in my face, you know, like there's the leaves are falling and the rain's coming down in front of me. Like it immersed you into this world, and that's what was like super,
and the moments
cool,
like when they were attacking the tree and just the damage it was, and like the sonic blast that you would see, and things are coming at you, and yeah, definitely accentuated the feel of how he wanted you to feel. That's for sure.
Even the depth perception, I like remember like the prison scene where there are those little holes in the glass, and it like made you feel like, you know, you were looking at something in front of you.
Yeah, in the first movie, there's that opening scene where Jake Sully wakes up in the cryo state, right? And the little bubbles of air pockets are there on the screen, and it just that stands out to me, of just how real those little air pockets looked as they floated around him. It was just insane, man. And I think I saw Avatar 1 probably like 5 times in the theater. Like, it was like just such an experience.
Same. I had 6 or 7 for sure.
And
dude, it was one of those ones that I was like, if anybody hasn't seen this, like, let's go.
Yeah, same.
It was such a ride, you know. And people can shoot it down about the original storyline of it. Sure, that's fine and that's fair, but everything else, like the effects, the 3D, the feels, the semi open-ended ending, and it just, I remember taking one of my friends, and she just leaned next to me in the middle of that scene where they're just kind of all holding hands and they're like going together, and there's like the heartbeat, and she just leans over like, this is probably the best movie of all time. Like, yeah, like I love that kind of reaction when I bring people to an experience like, you know, like how I thought the first Avatar movie was. So, but yeah, definitely a lot of fun for me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm James Lovino, and I'm here to tell you about Alternate Sides, a movie podcast with a twist. I've worked in the film business for 2 decades, but I haven't actually seen that many movies, and this has been driving my frequent collaborator, Sam, a self-confessed film snob, crazy. So every week, while he's stuck in his car trying to avoid getting a parking ticket, thanks to New York City's alternate side parking regulations, we discuss a classic film I've finally just gotten around to seeing. Alternate Sides, a new podcast about movies, parking, and a 25-year friendship, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, a hell of an experience. And then, the journey, like I said, we've talked about, he's been filming these films for years. He's already filmed all of part 3. He's already a quarter way into part 4. He's got stories in his head for 5, 6, 7. We'll see how far this goes, right? Like, I know we're going to get 3 and 4, and then I think that's where they're pausing, and they're going to see how box office goes, and then we'll see if we get anything further. But insane, like I just never thought we'd get here, and again we did. And then on to top on that, like, so back in September they did the re-release and they put part 1 back out in theaters again, right, in IMAX, and it was a good way to revisit it, right? And again with my daughter, my daughter just turned 9 in November. Like, I took her to see the re-release in September. I remember off the trailer she was like, yeah, that looks interesting, and I was like, okay, let's go see I need you to see this first one, right? And just the awe and wonder again of watching her watch this movie, and like sitting like up in her seat and just being so engaged, and same thing, freaking out with the 3D and just how great it was. And at the end of that movie, having her again lean over and be like, this is incredible, like, I'm having such a great time. And then having that hype level ride for the next couple months to be like, oh, there's a new one actually right around the corner, right? So I took her to see it over the weekend. I've seen the new one twice already.
Same.
I took her to see it the second time, and she absolutely loved it. She loved it more than the first one. She just was so taken away by all the water stuff, as was I. I mean, I still don't quite know yet if I like it more than the first. I'm struggling with that because I find them so neck and neck. But they're just 2 incredible movies, and I was just so happy that she was just as engaged with this new one as she was with that first one. And for me, like, there was just something about that experience, it's hard to explain, of like thinking back to 2009, like being my younger self, like watching this and being like, that's cool. And then in 2022, taking my daughter to see that first movie again, right? Like, and doing that re-release, and then taking her to see the sequel because she wasn't even born when the first movie came out, like, so that was so awesome of an experience for me to be able to have that with her. And you don't get that with very many movies. That's one of those, like, you hear people talk about with Star Wars, right? Like your parents getting to take you and get you into it as a kid, and it's like, that's going to be Avatar for me and her, like. So I mean, so I want to start kind of there with the first movie again, just kind of roundabout real quick. Like, what was your guys' just overall thoughts of that first film, 2009? Like, where did you guys rank it? Like, what did you think? Like, what was your overall thoughts with it? So, Frigginz, I'll throw it to you.
As I mentioned, I remember seeing a lot about it at the San Diego Comic-Con that year. While I didn't get to see the trailer for it, I remember seeing like all the promotions, and like I mentioned earlier, the big mech unit. That was really cool. Got me really excited. I remember like finally seeing the trailer and being like, whoa, that looks different. And so just excited. I know we talked a little bit about the 3D already, but having that experience of how 3D could be effective and actually have an impact, it did make me think of like, oh, this is what it must have felt like when people saw Star Wars for the first time. Exactly what you just said. Having that same kind of experience watching that first one. I remember like after seeing it, me and my friends would like rush to Walmart, and we were looking for like, I wanted to get like figures to display up of the characters. I mean, I just was like totally into it. Thought it was absolutely amazing. Definitely, I wasn't doing like, there was no Letterboxd back then, so I wasn't doing a lot of rankings and podcast stuff. So, I didn't have anything set up, but I would say that it definitely was one of my favorite movies of the year. And in turn, ironically ended up being way better than Avatar: The Last Airbender film, because that movie.
Yeah.
So it was in fact the better Avatar of the year. But it's one of those things, like you said, Don, where there's been few movies where I felt like I have to get other people to see this, and everyone didn't want to watch 3D. They're like, 3D sucks. It's so stupid. The red and blue lenses, and it's like, no, it's not that. They did something different, and trying to describe the experience and then seeing people going through it after you've been through it was so much fun. Definitely something I don't expect to ever encounter again, in our lifelong timeline. But hopefully they come up with some new technology. We'll see. But it was definitely fun. I was taking my mom to it. I was taking my friends' parents to go watch it. I took my, nieces and nephews. Any reason I can go watch it again. I saw it about 6-7 times in the theater. They did a re-release of like the director's cut with extra footage. Went back, saw it then. I do regret not seeing it in September when you had mentioned it was out. And unfortunately, that weekend I couldn't make it. And I like what you talked about of having the little to kind of re-experience that, since it's been so long, since 2009. I watched it at my house, on my TV, and it wasn't as fun and exciting as if I was in the theater. So I definitely wish that I would have planned that out a little bit better and would have got to see that one more time before seeing this second one here in theater. I did watch it before seeing it, but again in theater. So but all in all, yeah, man, it was a great film, one of my favorites of the year.
I agree, man. Being able to see that again in the theater, in IMAX, in 3D, like just in that style again. I've watched it a million times at home. There's just something so different, right? Like, because I've already seen a lot of people on Twitter and stuff be like, "Oh, I'll stream it later. I'll wait for Disney Plus." And I'm like, dude, you can't wait for TV for something like this. Like, this needs to be seen on the biggest screen possible and the highest resolution possible. Like, it's just something about it. Obviously, in the 3D that you're not going to get at home. Like, it's nuts, man. So, Peeps, where were you at when you checked this one out in 2009?
Kind of the same as you guys. I saw the movie, and very similar to like Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Like I was so thrown back by the production of the movie that the quality of the script and the plot, it didn't bother me that much. Yes, it's a recycled story of Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves, but like, whatever. Everything else about the movie I just absolutely loved, from the size of the Na'vi to the bloobs, and which apparently was a thing that Cameron wanted to make sure that was a part of the film, to sexualize them. I don't know, that's what I heard. But like everything, the creatures and them making the Halu, and the fact that they could connect, I guess, with anything on the planet, and the just the thought of all of that, it was just neat. Storyline, basic. Everything else was so unique and beautiful. And when they're going on the floating mountains and they're climbing up the side of the cliff, and the camera's going down, I'm like, all right, I'm good. And this was a movie, like, I remember watching 3Ds at once upon a time, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this. And when I first watched this movie, I did not watch it in 3D. It wasn't maybe until showing like 5 or 6 that I watched it in 3D. And then, like,
that's crazy.
After Jake woke up after the big attack, and it's just the soot is coming down and the ash, and I'm like grabbing at it. It was, I'm like, this is so amazing. And so when I took my kids to see it on the re-release, I definitely took them to see that, or see the 3D version. Well, I think that's all they had, really. But
I think it was only playing in 3D.
Yeah. So dude, it was such a great ride to the ending. And you watch a movie and you want to predict, like, I wonder if they're going to do this. They're not going to do this. And then they do this. It was just so fun, man. I loved the villain. like you got to get a good villain that you love to hate, and I loved to hate the villain in this. He was so good, and I can go on and on about this movie, which I will pretty soon. And but yeah, like the first movie, just amazing movie, and because of how they made it. And then when you watch the side by sides of like Zoe Saldana like crying as they're doing the attack, and it's like literally like a mirror image of how they created the movie. It's just such a great marvel of technology and film. That is why I really appreciate this film.
And then motion capture is just so next level.
The nighttime when everything's glowing and they have glowing
luminescence.
Oh,
dude,
my gosh, I love it. All right, okay, I'm done.
Great.
Yeah. No, yeah, because I mean, even in the new one, when she has the seizure under the water and her whole body's cool, like flickering. Dude.
Oh
with
yeah,
that, like at night,
short circuiting.
Like, I was like, oh, that's so cool looking. Like, like the luminescence that everything had at night, and I love how they would show like the eclipse that happens at the end of every night, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything's glowing, and just the Pandora at night is just to die for. It's so cool.
And it makes really me even think too, and they didn't even really get into it, which I am okay with, but like I feel like there's like an eclipse in a day which just lasts like an hour or so, and then they have an actual nighttime probably as well. Like that's how Jake would go to sleep at night, so that he could in the first movie, so that he can go back to his body and whatnot. So I don't know, but maybe it is just full of eclipses. Who knows? But I just kind of love that fact that that's just a thing. Yeah.
A thing. Yeah, no, it's super awesome. And that everything does that, right? Like all the fishes and the whales and just the tacoons and like everything like has that glow like on it, which is just like really, really cool. So yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just so glad to hear everybody loves that first one, and it's just because you tend to forget, right? I mean, because it was so long ago, because everybody becomes very jaded, especially on the internet. And like I've seen in the last couple of years, how many people have you come across that are like, oh, who gives a fuck? Like, why we want to watch this movie? Like, oh, that first movie. Like, and it's funny because obviously it's the biggest movie of all time. Obviously, everybody went to see that first movie. And I remember back in 2009, not a single person telling me they didn't like it.
Exactly.
And then somehow
all of a sudden
later, everybody's like overrated. I hated that movie. It was so boring. Like, just all this hate that came out of nowhere. And I'm like, come on, man. Like,
it's that millennial generation where they just like bashing things.
Yeah.
Just like bashing things, dude. Exactly. So I'm glad to see that some love, has come out for this. Cause I remember like that first one's one of my all-time favorite movies. So not even just that year, like Fred said, like it is in my like top 10 like ever of everything. So was very, very excited here. So obviously that brings us to our overall thoughts from this one, right? So now we catch up. 2022 Avatar 2 The Way of Water drops on December 16th. I think we all went and saw it on the preview night on December 15th. I went and saw it in IMAX 3D the first time, and then the second time over the weekend, I saw it in the Prime. And I really am glad I did that, because I started to read about this high frame rate that this movie was filmed in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the version you guys saw, but like the IMAX version was not in high frame rate, but the Prime one was. So it was almost like a completely different viewing experience for me watching it the second time because of that frame rate. Because
positive or negative?
It's positive mostly. My only negative with it is at points it just looks like a video game, right? Because it's so crisp, it's so clear, and it kind of speeds up the action. And it only really happens in the action scenes, but the action kind of speeds up a little bit to where it kind of takes you out of it for a second, because it almost looks too computer generated. But at the same time, it made the movie so much clearer. Like the movie was so crystal clear, and I thought the 3D popped better in the Prime. So, which is interesting because I know it was filmed for IMAX cameras, and the IMAX did its thing for sure, but there was something about that Prime viewing that I was just like, I think I kind of enjoy it more in this, to where I know I'm going to go see it a third time, and I'll probably go see it in the Prime again. But that right away, I noticed that frame rate, and I was like, "Ooh, this looks like right out the gate." I was like, "This thing looks way different already."
What's
Like
the
when I
Prime
saw it the
viewing?
other day.
Is that equivalent to Cinemark's like XD?
I think it's what we saw. Yeah,
Kinda,
Okay.
yeah. It's their bigger screen that they can
they have like
trademark.
vibrating chairs.
Yeah, the sound is heavier, and I think it's more of a Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos like kind of stuff like that's with it. So, but yeah, it's their trademark one, since obviously IMAX is its own thing. So they have the AMC Prime and the AMC IMAX, both in the theater. So that was really cool to at least get different perspectives on both viewings. But man, again, overall thoughts blown the fuck away. It's just like, again, I'm just like, dude, like he did it. Like, everything in the water, man, just like, whoo, like, okay, we'll get to all the details later, but it just
Yeah,
that just stood
overall.
so out to me, because like that was just, I don't know, I love underwater stuff, and just like all that stuff just really made this thing pop for me. But man, just, it was everything I loved in the first movie times 10, right? Because you got more action, you got more family. Like the story beats really resonated with me this go around, with all the kids and kind of the Sullies stick together, and just, like, I liked the message behind it. I liked kind of the back and forth between him and Natiri. Like, just all the characters really worked for me. And I remember when they said Stephen Lang was coming back, I was like, "Oh my god, are they gonna do this?" And that's kind of
Yeah.
stupid. And like, he died in the first one. Like, do I want this again? I'm glad they did it this way. He was badass. It was awesome to see this different take of him as a Navi, but being this weird kind of clone that I can see turning into a good guy down the road for sure. This feels very Fast and Furious, like, especially since he's been saved. Yes, come on, peeps, we know it. And
All right, we'll get there.
it's coming.
We'll
Family,
get there.
it's all about
We'll get
family. Spider will turn him. Good old Spider. But yeah, man, just again walked out with awe and wonder. Could not wait to go back that weekend and watch it again with my daughter, and just again got to experience that again with her, loving it coming out of it. And I'll tell you, man, a lot of people, 3 hours 10 minutes, 3 hours 10 minutes sounds daunting. I don't know about y'all, but I never looked at my fucking watch one time, and that thing felt like it was over in 90 minutes. Like, went so fast for me. Like, and I was like, maybe that's just because I've waited 13 years to see this. Let's see how it feels on the second go round. And that second go round, it flew by like so fast again. So I never felt the runtime, which is always a big thing for 3 hour plus movies, is that it doesn't drag, right? Like, I couldn't really tell you anything I'd want to remove to bring that movie kind of shorter. So that's a testimony to the runtime on this thing, because it sounds like a lot when you go into it. You're like, fuck, because that first movie was long, and that was like 245. So I'm like, 310, man, you really pushed it, but it pays off. So absolute wonder and love coming out of this thing. So Frigginz, what was those initial thoughts coming out of the theater the other night?
I would say that I'm probably a little watered down version of you. Very much. Yes, pun definitely intended. Very much enjoyed it. I had a blast, came out of it. Actually really surprised. I think overall, and I'll kind of get into more specifics later, but very vaguely, I was more shocked of some of what we got. I wasn't exactly sure how things were going to play out, and I found myself really enjoying aspects that I wasn't thinking I was going to like, and maybe disliking a little bit more of things that I thought I was going to like. So there was this really interesting break, like exceeding expectations in some level, and then, I would say at least meeting or just under expectations of other levels, which was really fun, actually, because I like when a film will give me something that I wasn't necessarily expecting. And that was another benefit for me, was I didn't watch any of the trailers. I saw pieces of some of the, I think maybe I take it back. I think it was the first teaser trailer. I did see that very, very first one. But then after that, I didn't see any following trailers of any. I purposefully was missing them. When it would come on in the theater, I'd get up and run to the restroom or go get a soda or something. So like I wanted to really be fresh, and I think it actually helps because again, everything felt new and unexpected, and I just really had no clue what I was getting into. So that aspect was really, really fun. At the end of the day, it's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time at the theater. I don't know that I definitely didn't have the same feelings coming out of it as I did the first film. I will say that overall. But there's no denying that this was an emotional experience, a fun experience, and just a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very good. I like it. Peeps, what was your thoughts coming out?
So like this movie experience, it obviously, in my opinion, differs than the first one. But at the end of the day, I feel like I like both movies equally. For different reasons. Now, like the first movie like starts with human, and slowly brings us into the Na'vi element, and then just kind of stays there for the most part for like the rest of the movie. This one starts Na'vi and is like 80 to 90% like Na'vi special effects, which was pretty cool. And I mean, Frigginz is downselling it, but there were moments in the movie where he was leaning over like, this is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it was. no denying it. Yeah,
I'm so happy right now. This is like, this is so cool, and it was, especially in the beginning when, especially for someone like Frigginz. I don't know if you've watched the first movie, kind of coming into this. It's like coming back into this world. It's like reminding us about everything we liked about the first movie, and then on top of that, it gives us this whole other tribe of Na'vi, which I'm so thankful that they did, because that was a thing I had so many theories of the first one, but that was the thing I had in my head about the first movie. Also, there's going to be a tribe out there. They're probably going to be redskins. They're going to be completely savage and feral, and we're gonna really be worried about those ones. So just let you know. Anyways, nah, man, like this movie, it being a dad, loving my family as much as I do, not too much of a warrior, but I definitely have that protective element. This movie, I could relate a lot to this movie. And man, when this movie hit, it hit me personally. It sucks. And like I like that, man. And they do such a good job. He does such a great job at expressing how you're supposed to feel. My freaking 8 and 10-year-old kids are sitting next to me the second viewing, and they're like, oh, that's his dad. Oh, the whale's sad. Like they're able to tell what's going on in the movie without any addition, like without them Loganing it and telling you, hey, are you afraid to die? I think you're going to, like, they show you that he, you know what I mean?
And Zoe's got to get the Logan dig in every time.
And, yeah, dude, like this, it was a lot of fun, but I do have some issues with it, and I wouldn't even call them issues, more than nitpicks, but issues nonetheless. But yeah, lots of fun. There's a character, Sigourney Weaver. I didn't even know she was voicing that character until like halfway through the movie. Is that Sigourney Weaver? And Fred's like, dumbass, yeah.
Like, hello.
Yes. I don't know if she changed her voice and just made herself sound more young, or if that was like digitally done. But regardless, I hope
they altered it.
Oh man, I was hoping that she kind of like changed her voice up, like voice acted a little bit. But like regardless, man, I love that whole thing, and hopefully people don't get all like, oh, they're going biblical, with the whole no father thing. I mean, like, come on, like just enjoy the friggin' movie. But yeah, man. At the end of the day,
she has a high midichlorian account.
Oh,
yeah, I know, right?
Midichlorians. I don't want to hear that word.
Lots of midichlorians.
Yeah, dude. At the end of the day, lots of crazy stuff. There's scenes and things that they did. I'm like, I don't know how they did. I don't know how they filmed it.
Yes.
I
would love to watch the making of this fucking thing.
Like, did they just do it underwater? Like
yes,
for real? But like, are they riding
did, dude. They said he made
boats?
everyone train how to hold their breath for like 6+ minutes.
Yeah,
like
they
had
Kate
to take like these
Winslet
diving instructions, and everybody had to literally hold their breath for 6+ minutes
so
at a time.
Nuts. And that too, man. Like, and we'll get to the ending, but like, I wouldn't have fathomed that the movie would have ended on a Titanic type of note. But like, I was rooting for them, not because there's this big ugly monster chasing them, or there's this maniac going after them, but like for another reason of just holding your breath and surviving. Like, I'm legitimately like pulling for these CGI Smurfs, and it was a lot of fun. DX, I know you probably didn't like this that much because it's mostly animated, and I know how you feel about animated movies, so
this don't count. I know there's real people behind every single movement in this movie.
so Rango and this are probably like top tier, right?
Just kind of going back to Fred's old comment about the trailers, what I loved about the trailers for this movie is they didn't give shit away. There was 3 trailers, and they literally none of them explained what the story was or what was going on. They were very quick flashes of just water, trees, running, some shooting. This family is our fortress. Avatar.
They even did a good job at, even for me, kind of like psyching me out. Like when she's like, I can hear her. I'm like, oh, she's talking about Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, she was.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so that's I like that he kind of kept the story very close at bay. So overall thoughts, everybody really coming out liking it. Obviously, we're going to get into what we loved, what we didn't like. Quick synopsis of the film. Obviously, we kind of pick up right away at the end, after the end of the last movie, and we hear Natiri singing the song, and they're talking about the beads, right? Each bead is a moment in life. Each time a kid was born, they now have 4 kids, and I like that. They've finally, like, they set us up on how this family kind of came together, and then you see the sky people have returned, and we fast forward a year later, and they've kind of taken over half the planet over here, and we find out Earth is dying, so they want to come and basically make Pandora the new Earth. And of course, our boy Stephen Lang from the first movie that had died, his memories have all been inserted into an avatar this time, so he remembers everything except for his death, right? Because that hasn't happened yet. So I like that they kind of set up, like why him and his crew kind of were brought back and why they were avatars. And they're on a mission to find Sully, man. And and there's one quick moment in the beginning where they kind of get close, and then of course Jake tells the family, we got to bounce, right? Because they capture Spider, who just happens to be the son of Stephen Lang, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember a kid in the first movie, so I'm just like, I don't know where the hell that came from, because I was like, are they trying to say he's his son? And then and sure enough, like, he was. So but I like that they kind of explained that a kid that young couldn't go into cryo, and that's why he had to get left behind on the planet. And I like that they kind of were like, he was like a stray dog to us, right? Like, he's just running around playing with the kids, and kind of became little cousin of the group. And
but
I like
Natiri
that
from the jump did not like him and appreciate him, which
he was alien.
And to what happened at the end of the movie, it meshed so well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you could see how scared he was at the end too, when he was watching the wreck shop. He was like,
out too.
Nope. Yeah, no, I'm not getting in the way of that. So they capture Spider, and of course he knows everything. So Jake says, we got to bounce, right? Because they're going to come looking for us, and we don't want to get everybody killed. And they go miles and miles away, and they find this sea tribe that they try to hook up with and become a part of, and that's where we kind of go from there. And the rest of it's kind of this story of the sky people trying to find Jake, trying to find this new tribe, and go from there, right? So we're gonna, as we always do, we like to get the negative kind of out the way first, and that's the what didn't we like about the movie part. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna pass it to you guys, because I've wrecked my mind over the weekend and I can't think of anything. So I'm actually going to take the pass here because unless I was getting like super mad nitpicky that, and I even with trying to get nitpicky, I can't really think of anything that I'd say I wish they did better or I wish they would have took out. I just had such a pure joy for this movie. So things might click as you guys are talking. So I'll let you roll with it. I'll start with Peeps on this one because he's always got the side of it that he likes to nitpick about. So we'll let you run with it, man. What stood out to you that you didn't like
in terms of the
or would have
dislikes?
changed?
I would say like there's just some story beats that either they and this is super hypocritical because the thing that I love are the story beats that they didn't touch on. So, but some of the things I would have liked more information on is what really has been going down between the 16 years, I guess, in between movies. Has it just been living happily ever after? Or I would have liked to see like maybe more humans have been coming down to work with them instead of take over. They're there to like kind of like I don't know, help out in their own like weird way, you know what I mean? And instead of there's just two, right? There's just the two dudes are the only humans.
It was only the guys they trusted. That was the only ones they let stay. So
yeah, so I don't
thought
know,
they were
maybe
pretty clear about that in the beginning.
Yeah, but I would have. I guess
think it's
I would
been
have
happily ever after.
We're
having babies and we're just chilling.
Movie.
Which it was, but I guess just more. I would have liked to see more positive links between humans and the Na'vi instead of. I don't like the notion of all human bad, which is what they're doing. 100% human that exists in this universe are bad, except for two dudes. Two dudes are the only. Even if they would have had like a military person that's like has their gun over and they're like this isn't like I don't want to do, and then they get shot in the face or something like that. Like show some humanity with the humans that apparently don't have it anymore. So yeah, that thing. I thought a lot of this movie, and again, hypocritical, a lot of this movie was predictable. I felt like I knew where it was going to go, which it pretty much did. And I'm like, really, Jake, you think I'm going to leave my tribe of people that I love to go stay with another tribe? And if they find me, well, screw those dudes. At least they weren't the people I've been living with for the past 16 years. Screw this new tribe. Like, I didn't understand.
I was hoping they wouldn't find him out there. But they were too far away.
He should have just been by himself, I think. Like, if that's your plan, if you don't want people to be wiped out, don't go live with people. It's just like Logan when they're on the run from people trying to kill them. Why go stay with people? They're just going to get killed, and that's literally what happened. So that. At the last fight, I feel like their son is the only character that died in that entire fight.
Because there was some people in the background falling off the fish ride.
And I think that's all that happened, right? I think they probably got shot in the knee or like their fish got shot. Like, I didn't feel that they were, in the first movie when there's the fight and then halfway through the fight at the end, what's his name? Sute gets killed, and then some of the others you see them like dying. Like there's some, oh my gosh, like they may not win. I didn't feel that at all with this fight. It was literally just them like whooping on the humans the whole time, which my son absolutely loved. So yeah, that was dope. But yeah. The marine biologist, freaking Jermaine Clement. I wanted him to join the cause by the end of the movie. I know they're probably going to have more, and especially we're going to have a one-armed cyborg man in the other movies as well. But I don't know. I get his character had this love, kind of interest for the world. It's appreciation for the world, and I would have kind of liked to see that actually go somewhere other than him just turning his head whenever they shoot a whale in the face. So they are in a universe where they are outreach. The Earth is dying, and they're going out to other planets. I would have liked to see it not just be Na'vi are the only aliens that exist in this world. It would have been kind of cool to maybe see like other aliens that exist in this world, maybe helping the humans build their civilization. Maybe if they're like a slave type of alien, or even if the guy Quaritch was resurrected as a different, like, oh, we're not the Na'vi, we're the Naboo-boobs. you know, and you know, they're just a different alien species out there that they had already maybe I don't want to say conquer, but that's kind of like what humans do, right? They go to another place and conquer everything. And I don't know, like, do other aliens exist in this world? An answer that doesn't deserve an answer, a question that doesn't deserve an answer, but something that I wanted. I thought
we got many more movies to get there.
I thought the resurrection of Quaritch was kind of. It's one of those resurrection types that I feel like one more line should have been added, like, make sure you take care of this body because we can't do this again. We use the whole package in this, because does this mean we can just keep doing this? Does everybody have an extra life? Is this like a video game and everybody just has, like, I don't know, like, do you just keep going back to the memory absorption place every like 6 months to upload your new patch of memories, so that if something happens to you, and that I don't know, it kind of lazy, but I liked to see him return, especially in the skin of the thing that took him out. But kind of also at the same time,
I owe you a death.
Altered carbon, right? Like with the if you shoot them in the neck, then they don't come back.
There you go.
When I didn't like that they're able, when Jake was in his avatar, when he's in his Na'vi form and he was in the forest was like, you're obviously not who you suck, you're loud, and the forest attacked him a lot because he was careless and he didn't know and appreciate the forest. But the other guys, it's cool, right? They're in their Na'vi bodies, and the forest is like, I'm a kid. Oh, you guys are blue? You're cool. And then they just leave. Like, there's no. It's a little contradictory from the first movie. But so
Jake
didn't
have a gun.
Yeah, well, I mean, when the little ones attacked him, sure, but when the big one attacked him, like, he had a gun. And where was that one? I wanted to see that little panther thing. Anyways,
because they even mentioned in that, before that scene, like they'll think that you're indigenous, you know, so you know, go try it out and see what happens.
Maybe it's within the 16 years they figured out how to produce like pheromones or something. 16 years
again, a sentence that would have made it happen for me.
Yeah, so, true.
And the fact that he was able to get the whatever the dragon birds are, he's just able to get it.
Yeah,
I would have liked a little bit more on that. Like, instead of him just getting it off screen, like, I would have liked to see him conquer it in some like sad human way, where instead of like just connecting with it and then they're seal the bond, there's no sealing bond. He is just dominating it. Like, maybe it tried to fly away. Remember in the first movie when they said, how do I know? Oh, he will try to kill you. But like, there's one that's trying to fly away and he's just like grabbing it like, no, you're mine. And he just forces it into submission. I would have liked maybe to see that instead of how they did it. But again, silly nitpicky thing that doesn't deserve a dislike. And yeah, and that's just it. Like, just some little things that they didn't show off screen. Like, we got some stuff with the humans, and the humans are like, hey, our planet's dying, and we're coming back here. We don't care about unobtainium anymore because real Earth people have been making fun of the name of unobtainium for the past, 12 years. So we're not going to say that word anymore. Now it's all about gooby goob juice. That's why we're here. We're here for the gooby goob juice now. Right. Easytanium. I don't know. I don't know, and I feel like with their technology,
that was kind of I would say that was like kind of like one big standout of like a nitpick for me, was just it felt forced, that whole thing with that gooey shit right inside the whale's mouth. Like, I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, we had never mentioned anything about that, right? Like, the military captain said, we're moving here because Earth's dying, and that was all it was about. And then the other guy's like, this is what it's all about, right? This is $80 million a vial, and it stops humans from aging. And then it's like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, it just felt so shoehorned in, like that I feel like it probably is going to pay a bigger point down the road in maybe other movies, right? Like where we're gonna have invincible motherfuckers because they drink that shit, and then like you can't put them down. You know, like I feel like that's why they just threw that in kind of in one scene to be like, we're laying the groundwork. Message, don't forget about this scene, because it just felt so out of left field that like, oh, now we're hunting these things to drill into their mouth and get this goo, you know, like
And did they figure that out within the year that they have been
they
there?
even figured that out in the first
That's
place.
What I'm saying, dude. Who's rubbing
like a big ass whale? They're like, you know what? I have an idea. Let's just see.
And is it a cream? Do they have to inject it? Do they drink it? Like what?
Yeah, they just rub it all over their bodies. look like honey.
Right? Like, do they put a little bit into a pill?
Honey, you missed your back. It's all wrinkly and gross.
Nice.
And like stops aging. Like that sucks if you're already old. I mean, maybe if it reversed it, anyways. So yeah, like I like you said, DX. I thought the reason why they were there was for the ore, and that's why they were there in the first movie. Was like, that's why we're here. That's what pays for this whole operation is this thing. Now it's like, hey, we're just going to live here now and hunt whales. And I get why. I thought they were going to be hunting the whales for the meat, but I get it. Like you take the brain juice and you just leave the rest. You just waste it. Like I feel like there's a bunch of people that would like whale meat back home. I don't know, maybe not, but. I don't know, but yeah, that's probably it. As you guys are talking, I'll probably jump in and interrupt you and be like, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you about." I guess the last thing I'll fall on is Spider. He was fine. I feel like through the majority of the movie, but once you find out who he is, it's like, oh, I liked him more as just a human that lived with the Na'vi instead of a plot device to influence a character, which all he is now. All he is just not really a MacGuffin, but just a plot device to sway him now. And that, I don't know, that kind of sucks. But I would have liked more from that character.
I would have liked more clothes for that character. I feel like once he got abducted, like that his dad would have been like, here's a military outfit, put on some fucking camo, son. Like, you know, instead of making him run around like Tarzan the entire film. It was just a little crazy to think that entire film, that poor dude had to run around in a loincloth. So like, I was like, come on, man. Nobody wanted to give him a pair of pants.
Too much hissing too. There's like 3 hisses too much.
He was feral. Like,
I know, but so was the Quaritch.
He was Navi in his heart.
Quaritch is also hissing.
They all hiss.
It's so cute. I don't know.
It's the reaction. They're cats.
Pretty much.
All right, Frigginz, what you got? What stood out to you?
Well, I will say that apart from the spider thing, I don't want anything that Sean said. Like, I disagree with you completely on all those things.
That is fair.
But I mean,
and another thing,
this guy. So I want to preface that, you know, I'm talking nitpicks, right? Like, again, this is just trying to find something to be to communicate about. But the only things that really kind of stood out for me was definitely what you mentioned about Spider. I agree with you. I liked it more of him literally being like that, almost a pet, right? As opposed to
stray cat
having to have that specific stereotypical movie film connection. I really disliked actually the fact that they brought back Quaritch. I think that you could have somehow looped in another character into this role. I didn't think it had to be him. We could have had somebody else that was on base, maybe give a little background story. And that way they're coming back and taking into this avatar form instead of this whole, like, again, I mentioned ultra carbon kind of brain swap. That actually really irritated me that they have this. They're adding in additional lore, I guess, for the world, but I didn't necessarily like that. Like, I don't like the concept of them being able to have these, like, we're gonna store the memories of stuff. Like,
You said you disagreed with what I said.
I said most every. Yeah.
Okay. So far, you're right on, but continue.
The spider thing and the Corge thing, I definitely was a little bothered by that. I don't like the connection either.
Again, I guess it makes sense though that they have Corge, because like the idea is to kill Jake, and he has bad blood with Jake. Like they probably could have did his son, and I'm glad they didn't do that, right? Like, oh, you killed my dad, I'm going after you.
Yeah, I mean that would have made more sense, really. Like, and it's like, I just think it's it was too cliche. It was too cliche.
100%, but I like him so.
And that's the problem. It's like,
and I like him too.
He's such a good actor.
Just what I want to say is just that, like, I really like him too in this role. What I don't like is I feel he should have died at the end of this movie, right? Like I thought he was dead. Like when he choked him out and his body fell, I'm like, okay, drowned, he's fucking dead, right?
Yeah. No, they didn't show the body. Nope.
They literally showed the body floating down.
They showed the body. He was fucking twitching.
They covered it. It just went down, and that's all you saw. Yep.
So I don't like that we left off with him getting away, right? Like, because now it's just he's the main antagonist again for the third one. Like that was where I was like, yes, like I know we're kind of hinting, like I think like yes, he will turn at some point and probably be an ally, but and I can already tell that's where this is going, but I kind of almost wish that he would have just died, and then we could have put that piece of the puzzle away and then left it open for a whole brand new antagonist, for this third one. I'm just afraid of them waiting to like a fourth one to like make him a good guy, and then we have a whole third movie of the same thing again where he's just on this vendetta to get his revenge on Sully. So
I think it'll be like you know what, you failed twice, and then we're going to get the Fred angle where we're bringing in Vin Diesel or something, or The Rock.
Somebody else. So I don't like the fact that he like you said, like that he didn't die, because what you mentioned earlier is that he's going to be the good guy later. I don't want any of that. Like, I thought his story was great. If you wanted to keep him around for a sequel, he shouldn't have died. That way you could have just had him transfer his conscience into an avatar. Maybe they figured it out, and that's what they do. Instead of him, dying and bringing him back. But whatever. That's like what the main thing that was like really bothering me was that decision. I also didn't. I actually was a little bothered by some of the frame rate changes, and specifically the scene that really stood out to me is when Jake and Neytiri were flying around, like just chilling on the birds. And I thought in that scene, it really stood out to me is where you could see the change, and like also with the train scene, I think was
train
a little,
scene. Yep. That's what I was going to
say. But what's funny, I have to acknowledge that like that bad graphics is better than like 95% of other movies that are out there. So it's not.
It wasn't even bad graphics. It's just that high frame rate that just it made it too
looks
video game cutscene.
Something just catches your eye, especially in the comparison to the amazing artistic beautifulness that you're seeing in other scenes. So honestly, those were like really two of the biggest things for me was the Corch thing and that frame rate stuff. I mentioned earlier that one of the things I was really excited for that was a little lackluster actually were some of the action scenes. Like, they were cool, but I will actually agree with another thing that Peeps said as far as like there didn't seem to be a whole lot of the deaths on the Na'vi side. Not that I wanted them to die or anything, but like stakes, the stakes, exactly. And so it just wasn't as strong as it was in the first one. You could see the devastation that was occurring to them in the first one, like very clearly. And this was slightly different. But I wanted to mention, Peeps, like the whole point is to show the ugliness of the human race. So that's why they don't want to have too many of the good humans on there, because they're trying to over accentuate the point of, the virus that humans are, or we go and we take over, we destroy everything that's there. Right. And so that's why I disagreed with you on wanting to have like more of the good, because even the good scientist was like, I'm going to go drink to be able to cope with doing the horrible things that I'm doing.
I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's just like he has an interest for this, and this is the only way he can get out there because there's no more science teams that do this anything. The only way he can actually get out here is by hanging out with these what are they called? Like poachers.
Yeah,
really.
The douchebags.
Yeah, and it's not like he didn't like it, and that's why he don't drink alcohol.
And
to cope with it.
I think though that they're trying to show the ugliness of human nature, right, and what we do, and the colonistic approach of things, and I think that's where that they want to focus so much on. I agree with you. It's you would think that there's going to be some like peace and love and hug and tree people out there like going on strike or something. I don't know, but like maybe they can't get the flight out there. It's probably too expensive to get to Pandora. I just
I mean, even that, like, there's a blockade around Pandora, and they're not letting anybody else in. There's some
one-liners that could help. Yeah. But really, that's all I have as far as my major complaints. I don't have a lot either. Maybe more will come as we talk, but like those are the ones that really stood out for me for some of the negatives.
How about this, Frigginz? Maybe you would agree with this one, since I say nothing but disagreeable things. Even though you agreed on most of it. The evil avatars, right? The mercenaries.
Yeah.
You love your teams.
Yep.
Would you have not liked a little bit more from them instead of them just being fodder to be killed? Like a name. Like all we knew is that the bald guy from the first movie was in this one. Like they had tattoos on their arms. One had bubble gum. Like they had a little bit of personality, but maybe like a little bit more, so that maybe if they die, you're like, oh snap, that guy was kind of cool. I don't know, like show like maybe like that little introduction where like this is BoJack. He's our demo guy, and he has like a grenade, and he pulls.
I think they were just expecting you remember them from the first movie because that was the same team in the first movie.
It was just the one guy, right? Were there other people?
No,
I just remember the one guy
with the gum.
I don't remember the girl with
every
the
single
gum
one of
in the
those
first
guys.
one.
Yeah, they were all there. That's why they were like, Sarge, we're here. Yeah, like so. I mean, they just brought back his crew.
Yeah, I wanted nothing to do with them, peeps. Like that, normally that's my thing, but like to me, they were just rando bad guys. I could care less.
Yeah, me too. And that's
like
why
the Knights of Ren, I guess. I don't know.
If they die, they die.
Yeah. They had to be.
They die.
Films like to do, especially in something that's like PG-13 or whatever. You got to make the guys that are going to die like either as vile as can be or as generic as can be. And so that was like, so you don't feel bad for seeing them die. And I think that's what it was, is they were just going to ignore them. They were just a thing that's going to get killed.
I think also, too, a thing that maybe I have issues with is I think just the inclusion of them kind of defeats the purpose of the first movie. Like the reason why they had Jake go there in the first place is because he was a match to his brother that had passed away. But he was such a risk potentially to their cause. Why didn't they just grow another one? If these things just grow on trees, just grow another one.
Mm-hmm. And then they
take too long. They basically said that they've been making that for like 13 years. Like they take too long to grow an avatar. So that's why it was so important for Jake to go in that body, because they were like, yo, we don't have the time to do a whole nother body.
Do all military people have an avatar body, or just those guys? Because they had to probably start growing them.
Yeah.
Ooh, good point.
Yep. Yeah, we got to move on. So we're going to go to what we loved. So moving to our next section here, of course, the highlights over here, which are obviously just going to be big moments, right? Big story beats, things that stand out. I kind of hinted upon it earlier, like literally all the water stuff. Like loved all the water stuff. As soon as they got to that tribe and they were like, okay, Jake Sully and his family could stay here, I'm like, dude, why would we ever live in the fucking forest, man? This is badass, right? Like I want to live in a little hut on top of the water.
Did you say that?
Like,
oh yeah, I love the beach.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it was great, man. Like, and then it's like, instead of the big dragons, they got the same kind of thing, but it goes underwater. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, I love that it was like everything they had in the forest, but in water. And I love that just the subtleness of them being the water tribe, that they were a different color blue, that their tails were almost like fins, like that their hands even like were more, finny.
Even on their legs, yeah.
Yep.
So So like as much as they looked weird to us because we're used to the dark blue Navi, like they were the freaks, right? To the water tribe, they were like, oh, look at their fuzzy tails and look at this and that. But I love seeing something different, and I knew that was the big thing going into this movie. Obviously, besides the title, was just that we were going to get this water stuff, right? We all know James Cameron loves his water, right? The Abyss, Titanic, like he loves his water, and I knew he was going to push it, and the visuals of just everything, and all the scenes of just riding these things through the water, and just love that whole thing. Love the connection of these island tribes that were all like way out in Pandora, and it just makes you wonder like what else are we going to get in these other movies, right? Like there's Pandora's a big ass planet, like that's one
red evil ones.
What's the next tribe?
It's gonna be some red evil ones.
Could be, dude.
The cannibals.
You know, no one ever goes out to that island, you know,
Yeah.
because that's where they live. It's going to be interesting, but
It's
you
an
know, I
elephant
like
graveyard.
that they were accepted into this tribe at the end, even though when at the end he was like, okay, we're going to pack up tomorrow, we're out, and they're like, no, like your child is buried with us, like you're one of us now, like welcome, you know, you're part of our tribe, and they're home now, right? Like I love just the mythology of it. I like that they had kind of their Awa tree too, but it was underwater, and just I loved all the subtleties of everything else. I loved all the kids. Usually kids drive me fucking crazy in movies, but I enjoyed all the kids, right? Like, of course, they did dumbass decisions sometimes, right? As teenagers, they're like, I can't go out there. I'm going to get in trouble. Oh, you're a wuss. Okay, let's go. You know, just the same kind of thing.
Total kid
you
move
know,
right there.
Yeah. And you know, like, oh, the guy you just got in a fight with's like, come hunting with us. It'll be fun. I'm like, they're going to leave him there, right? He's going to get fucking ditched. Like, you just know the shit's coming. But
that
was
is
fun.
an
like,
extreme prank, though, you know? It's
right?
like, hey, let's kill him.
Oh, my God.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess I don't think they thought that shark thing was going to come, but you know, but yeah, but just I like the difference between all the kids too. I like that you had the older son that was very much like Jake, right? He was the perfect son, right? Then you had the more troubled teen, and then you had Kitty, who I thought Kitty was super cool. I liked her story. I liked that she was just this like, we adopted Kitty. She was from Grace's avatar. We don't know who the father is. And I like that she's got this weird connection to the planet, that she's almost got mutant powers, you know, like she's controlling the things and the all the fishes, and like all that stuff was cool as hell, man. I really dug her character, and I can't wait to see like how she develops over the next several films, right? Like she's gonna be like Neo and shit in the Matrix. Like she's gonna be all like controlling the trees and everything. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And then even the little girl that they had, I mean, she was even fun too. Like and I like that you just had all these different dynamics, and then obviously the other chief's kids, and then they're all dynamics together. I loved, like I said, I loved the bond between the middle son and obviously the Takun that was outcast, you know, and then just like how he, you know, befriended him, and I just love how that played into so much bigger during the big battle, and him coming over and hitting the ship and flip-flopping on everybody. My daughter laughed out loud so much, so loud when that dude was standing there and the fin just went smash and like crushed the dude. She's all like she started laughing. I'm awesome. Like it just, but it was so cool, dude. I love like what he did, and then especially when he grabbed the harpoon that one time and went around the ship and then crushed it,
so cool.
Ripped his arm off. I was like, dude, like just super cool. You know, I loved, again, the visuals. We talked about the luminescence on everything. I loved how he even went inside the mouth of the Takun and connected with it, right? Like bonded with it and got to see why he was outcast and what had happened and how it was the poachers and dropping all the grenades into the water and everything. And kind of crazy that the Navi would think that he's the one that did that, right? Like all these other Takuns like had like the big airbags like stuck to them and shit, and they somehow thought that like he's the one that killed everybody.
No, I don't think so.
Outcast him.
I think what it was is that he led essentially an attack,
right,
to protect them, and the Takun had made a vow to never kill anything under any circumstances. So the fact that he essentially like led that attack party to do that, they called him the killer, even though he didn't necessarily kill them all. He is responsible for them doing that because he broke that vow.
That's the way
is how I got
see it. Gotcha. And that makes way more sense, because even after the 2 times I saw it, I still was fuzzy on that story. It felt like the vision he showed him was just the attack, right? And everybody getting killed. And then it looked like they were like, well, it's all your fault because he was the only one that was alive still. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why would he be outcast for that?
And he did kill that big fish thing that attacked Loak. And so again, them killing, and they're never supposed to kill. So,
right. Which the poacher says in the thing, because he even Stephen Lang's guy asked him, like, they never attack back, and he's like, they don't hurt, they don't hurt nobody. So super sad scene though. I knew that one was gonna get my daughter. Obviously, when they killed the one Takun, like she was like, "Why?" I was like, "Oh, I hate when they kill creatures, man. That's the worst thing for a kid."
And I even leaned over. I'm like, I hope that's not the one. That the chieftain
with the baby, and then the baby's dead too. I'm like,
killed the baby.
Come on. You had to kill the baby too. Like, at least leave the kid alone.
Yeah, all humans are monsters.
Yeah.
But like you said, man, what I love about this planet is the fact that, like you said, they can connect, right? They can bond with like almost anything in this planet. Yeah. And that's so cool, man, because that's kind of obviously where they're going, right? Like Awa is alive and the planet's alive, and everything's kind of connected in this, melodic kind of way. I really just like the mythology behind it. Yes, the story beats sometimes are pretty, standard, but it's such cool like visuals and connections between the characters. And I love the family aspect. I love Natiri. She's such a cool character. Like, I love the way she's played. I like their dynamic. My Jake. I
love when she calls that.
Yeah. I love when she says, my Jake. Yeah. But yeah, like, when I was shocked as hell that the son died. Like, I did not expect him to die. Like,
Frigginz and I saw it.
Sean leans over and he's like, I've seen this movie before.
I didn't think he would go there, like, especially in this one, like, just with the flow of family being so important and everything, that they would do that
literally
right away.
When he got on the bridge, he's like, hey, who's your big brother now? Or someone was like, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different moments. I mean, just overall for me, it really is a lot of these visuals. Against the nighttime visuals, it's the connection between the characters, the family aspect. I love, like I said, the Sully stick together. I like that it wrapped with that. I love the ending. Like I connected with what you wrote the other night, Peeps. You were just talking about the emojis, right? Like, of like the smiling and the crying, and the crying and the smiling, like, and it's just, and that's what it was, right? Like, when they go underwater and they bond with the tree, and he sees his son again, and it's the young version fishing, and then it's the older version, and he's like, why are you crying? And he's like, I'm just happy to see you, son, and then Natiri comes out from the back and she's smiling, watching.
I'm like smiling in their bodies.
Dude, it just just the way that was filmed, and it goes back and cuts to them just floating and just kind of connecting, and the way it zooms in on Jake's face, exactly the way the first movie ends, right, with him opening his eyes, and it's boom, Avatar, right? Like, that whole scene right there, man, just killed me. Like, I lost it. My daughter like pulled on me and she was like, are you crying? Because I'm crying. I'm like, it's sad as hell. Like, it just, like, again, I like the way that was all pieced together. To have just met the family in this one movie, the bond and the connection that everybody had was so strong that we didn't need 3 films to build to that. And that's big, man. That's really big for a movie to connect that and make that a thing so fast out the gate. So those are big highlights for me. Frigginz, I'll throw it to you this time. Kind of, what were the big standouts for you on this one that kind of stuck with you?
So I think the biggest thing was how much I ended up really bonding with the family and that storyline. Like you said earlier, usually you throw kids in a film and I'm like, oh God, eye roll. Like,
Fred
I'm
hates
over
the kids.
this.
He hates kids, yeah.
That's not true. I don't hate kids in general, but usually, for the most part, they ruin the story. But
that statement stands.
In this instance, I thought it was fantastic, and it was, that's the thing that I wasn't expecting to get into, was the family story. And so, you guys give me crap for my rom-coms, and I love a good coming of age story and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, when they So the beginning, I kind of was like, all right, you got to tell me information. I'll figure, the background. And I wasn't super into it. I was like, okay, let's get to the point. And then they get to the water place. And while they're at the water place, like learning and experiencing and having all this interactions, there was a point where I was just like, I don't need any more action. Like, let's just do a story about living and like, them growing up and having an experience. And like, it could have ended after they like all made peace with the whales, and like I didn't need anything else after that. Like, I was just that into the story of these characters, coming into their own, going into this unknown territory and being the odd
he
ones
just wants
out.
Blue Lagoon, but for avatars.
I haven't seen that movie in like a bazillion years. But anyway, I really was just into the like story of them figuring out how to live in this new environment. What's funny is like, one of the things I typically absolutely hate is when you take like a super cool character, the whole movie, it takes them to get to their like ultra powers, badass self. And then the sequel, they almost always want to get rid of whatever that cool thing is. So for example, like you got Superman, he's like starting to learn. And then by the end, he's really cool. But then the next movie, they're like, oh, well, now we're taking his powers away, right? Something like that. I don't like when films do that. And I feel like, as soon as I saw them do that in the beginning, I kind of did an eye roll. I'm like, oh my God, like here's Turok Makto. And then the first thing they're doing at the beginning of the film is saying, I'm not that anymore. Bye. And I'm going back, and you're restarting the whole, like, I know we're in goods. I'm getting there. And we're restarting the whole, like, fish out of water again, which is what Jake Sully was in the first movie. But I thought it worked here because we had to have a reason for them to go out of that environment, right? And so that was the catalyst to allow us to go on the journey with them. And so that helped me, really get into this new world and this new scene. And again, just really experiencing that. I really like that aspect. The shots, the cinematography, the sound, all of it was absolutely amazing. If you're watching this review with us and you haven't seen it yet, or if you have and you saw it in 2D, go back and watch it again in the 3D. It's absolutely worth it. Like the amazing scenery, just them underwater, not saying anything, floating around and looking at the environment is absolutely gorgeous. It's art. And and so those are the things that really stood out to me the most.
There was a scene where it was raining, and both me and Pat were like,
"Yeah,"
and I was like, "Is the ceiling leaking right now?" And that's how immersive that 3D was at that moment. It was crazy, dude.
Absolutely. So those are the things that really stood out to me the absolute most with this film, and I found myself kind of like losing interest. I use that term very lightly, with more of the action stuff that I've seen before, but it was more about those character experiences and the kids trying to work it through and figure out, and the growth of, I think his name was Loak, the main son, not the elder son. So I really enjoyed seeing his growth. It was funny, like when the girl comes out of the water and does the like slow-mo, looks at him, Peeps is like, uh-oh. And one thing, I'll add one more thing before I pass it on to you, Peeps, but like,
keep going, man, you're good.
There was I feel like I'm forgetting something else I really like that I wanted to mention, but there have been I've been seeing movies with Sean for a long time, and in the beginning it was hard because this dude will be like slapping me. He'll be like, oh my god, it's just talk and like saying all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, and then I've kind of become that now, and now I'm the annoying one that's talking when he's not around. And now I like look forward to sitting next to him to talk about films while we're watching it. But this is one of the first movies that I can remember that shut him up. There was only a handful of times in the beginning and like early middle that he like would say something, and then next thing you know, the movie's over, and I was like, holy shit, we weren't talking. Like, and it shut me up too, but like especially Sean. I think that said a lot, is the fact that it like silenced Sean. Like that never happens.
Yeah,
so
true. That's very true.
That was really fun. I'm really trying to think of something else to add, but like those were really my absolute standout moments. So I'm gonna leave it there, and maybe Peeps, since you're talking, you might jog a memory, but I really like that those components. Just the everyday life components.
Oh, well, feel free if you do remember something. Feel free to jump in, buddy. I give you permission. But yes, I agree and disagree, Frigginz, like always. But but definitely must watch in 3D. There's not even a question. If you ever think maybe I'll just don't just watch it in 3D. Because I've seen it twice. First time, obviously 3D, amazing experience, and then the second time, I just it's going to start. I got to get this time. If we go later, the kids aren't going to get out until like midnight or something. So I got to go now, and I regret it because I even told it was like, oh man,
well, you saw it in 2D the second time?
Not just 2D, but standard.
Oh, wow.
No XD, nothing, just standard. And it was not.
Did your kids dirty?
Yeah. And the thing is that they still loved it. I'm like, gosh,
that's awesome.
But yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah.
But man,
that was the first thing my daughter said was, "It's in 3D, right?" Yep, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're good.
So did mine. Yeah, they definitely they were like, "We're doing 3D, right?" I'm like, "Yep." Crap, we can't, guys. Sorry, let's go. Which I shouldn't have done. I should have just been a little bit more. I had to get them to see it the next day, which was Friday. So, all right. As I said before, my hypocritical statement of the things they don't tell you. Things happen in this movie where if they end up deciding that they want to stop, which they're not. Though DX, I heard that they're going to do 2 and 3 and then decide how well those two go before they do more beyond that. But
he's already filmed half of 4, so we're getting 4.
Okay.
Yeah, he just hasn't made 5, 6, or 7 yet. So
yeah,
I think 2, 3, 4 are a guarantee. And then if they stall out at that point, then we're done. If they still rake in the money, then we'll move on to 5, 6, 7. But yeah, 3 is 100% done, and 4, they said he's already a quarter of the way through. So
wow,
they ain't gonna not put out 4 if he's already filmed that much of it. So
yeah.
So but I really like the things that they don't tell you. We thought that we knew everything about this world, but this movie shows us that we don't. And the fact that Kitty has such a link with Awa is very interesting. Like you said, DX, just like how that whole thing transpires, and she does that. Did I do that thing again where she falls asleep and it's almost as if her heartbeat is in sync with the planet, and there's that whoosh when the grass is like waving with her heartbeat, just like incredible. And I'm like, what's going on there? And then she mentions to Jake that Awa's heart is mighty, her heartbeat is mighty, but there's that scene where she sees Grace, and then Grace is just like pulled away for some reason, and she has that seizure. What is any of that about? They don't explain it, and I love that. I appreciate that, because at knowing that he has this plan, like they gotta touch on it. She's never allowed to link up again. Okay, just give her a mask, she'll be fine. Like that's really the whole deal. I love the Payakan, the outcast whale. Like I was honestly thinking that he was going to be a killer, and he was actually going to try to kill the son for whatever reason, and then maybe the son would have shown him kindness that he had never seen before. Then they would have made up or something. But The scene, and man, my kids love this too, like when he was underwater and he's just bashing everything right before he attacks the boat, like you could see that he's like torn and frustrated, like, oh, y'all making me do this, y'all gonna make me do this, aren't you? And then they make him do this. Like that whole thing was so dope. And they talk about how hard their tops are, but then you get to see how like things are just bouncing.
And they're blasting him. He's just like, whatever.
He's like, yeah, this is cute. Yeah, that whole thing was really cool. And I love the connection between them. It's like, you know, if you've seen a real whale's eyes, like you could see like there probably is thought and like a type of humanity behind it. But I love when they transfer stories through like eyes and just the eye to eye connection between the kid and him. I just love that. Then I'm sorry they did that to you and they hugged him and he just closes his 3-4 eyes. I don't know, man. Like, I love that crap. That was so cool. Yeah, man. And just like agreeing with you, Frigginz and DX, like the kids, dude. They were great, especially like the little one too. Like, you know, she was just like, I don't know, she's just like a little bundle of joy, and even when she wasn't, like, it's like, oh,
I can't believe I got caught twice.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I laughed so hard at the end. I can't believe I'm tied up again.
Right? That's like the third time, I think, for her. So but yeah, oh my gosh. And even going with that, like Frigginz, I know you're talking about like I'm good without action, but man, when Jake and Natiri go after them the first time in the jungle, like that was so Rambo. Like I thought it was so cool. And how like the guy kept like, be quiet, and then she stuck him in the face, like, yeah, like it just felt so good. Like those, and when he had the axe and turned it around and then stuck him with the pointy end. Yeah, you know, but Frigginz didn't like the action scenes. You know?
No, that was the other thing I meant to mention was the two of them. Like, I want a rated R, them going around killing everybody with version.
Gotta have that rated R.
I'm sure you'll get it, Frigginz. Yeah. Yeah, just I love that attack. That was good. Geez, what else? Like, oh, the you mentioned the other tribe. That was something I wish they would have done a little bit more in the first one, was get into the other tribes. And they say, oh, the horse riding tribe, and then the vine sliding Tarzan tribe. I don't know. Like they were talking about the other tribes, but like what's unique about them, or what's with those? And they're just more. But I like that this tribe is like physically different in their own way, and yeah. And I would have liked a moment where the Sullys showed them a little something about the trees, because even though they lived near the water, they didn't just live in the water. There's like a bunch of trees behind them. So like they could have looked up like, oh, that's a pow fruit. I wish I had a pow. And then they just do some silly like acrobatic monkey stuff to go up and get it, and just to kind of impress them a little bit. Like, all right, I don't know, like, because they make that statement, right? Like, we don't want them to suffer the shame of being useless.
Yes.
So I don't know. They show some of their other skills to show that they're not
useful.
Yeah.
I'm oh man, you were talking about the Sullys in the when Took says like, are we there yet? Sean was like, oh yeah, I know that
there
one.
It is. Yep. She is literally my daughter. Yeah. Man, those little flying fish things were like really weird, and I liked it. They just kind of like skimmed, though I didn't understand why they skimmed up. Like, it was neat and it looked cool, but I'm like, are they going faster with them skimming on top of the water?
There's a fish that does that in real life.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah. But let's see. Okay. So I guess I'll I love the whole family aspect to it. Fred, you said that you don't like that they depowered him, but like, dude, when it comes to like you being this powerful being, like, yes, you are the powerful being, but they are not. And you can't be everywhere at once. You can't protect all of them at the same time while you're fighting this war.
True.
So you have to he did what, it makes sense. He had to take a step back so that he can focus on his core, his heart, which is his family. I don't feel the oldest was like, the apple in his eye, because he kind of like screwed up. He kind of got yelled at just as much as like the youngest one. But I don't know, man.
Taking the blame.
Firstborn son
got
always gets
stop taking the blame for this knucklehead.
The golden child.
Yeah, and oh my god, so going to like my absolute favorite was just the whole ending scene with the boat capsizing, and I'm like, oh, the Titanic guy that knows exactly how boats work and how boats sink did a really good job at this whole boat sinking scene. So but man, like when Took gets sucked in and then Natiri like jumps in, like doesn't even think about it, just jumps in. Like I love that. And then just everything that happens after that, just like I was legitimately like terrified for these characters. And Jake, having his big fight and then just almost drowning and then just being completely exhausted to the point where he's like, go save yourself. Like I got nothing left. And his son to be the one to talk him down. Like, come on, just take a breath.
Control your heart rate. Yeah, slow it down.
Gosh, that was such a good moment. And
tapped off by them coming up the water and then him being like, I see you, son. I see you, right?
That's where I was getting. That hit, like I'm getting chills just thinking of it. Like, because the whole movie, he's hard on him. And he's the military dad. So, he doesn't show what he would probably consider weakness to his kids. He just shows nothing but strength and discipline. But like that moment when he's like, I see you. Oh my gosh. Like I felt, because what that means. Like you can't, you got to see the first movie to know what that means. And geez, man, like that moment, like it hit. Like I was like, I just got done freaking crying over the sun. Y'all hit me with this crap again. Man, it was so beautiful. And then Kitty,
so proud.
Kitty, like controlling those bioluminescent fish to go through. Just the music, and Frigginz was talking about the score, like the soft like music as they're going through, and you're still kind of worried, but you're like, she's got him right, and then she's got him, and then she's like, hey mom, this is for you, and then like like an interesting moment where the first movie, the parents are the heroes, and the parents are heroes through the majority of this when they save the kids in the beginning of the movie. But at the end, it's like the kids are like saving them. Like there's that inverse, and it was just beautiful. And my kids are just like feeling it. I'm looking over at them. I know what's going on in the movie. I just want to see their reactions, and they're just ear to ear smiles. They're just eating this whole thing up, and that's why. Awesome. Like as much as I can knock all the other crap that I knocked and say like this is just a basic story that nothing special happens, like you could say it's kind of like what's that one Quiet Place 2, like I don't know, but it's just family on the run from a scary thing, and then the scary thing finds them. It's like everything that happens in between, the effects, the of even when the effect, like that train scene, like we talk about how much it looks like a video game and it's distracting. It looks so good. Like I want to play that video game. It looks so good. It just the train tips sideways and goes, and they do that little zoom in thing like they're using a real camera, and it just looked freaking amazing. And and then when the things first land, which I don't understand why it created such a big explosion as they're landing. Like that was like a little bit much.
That was very exaggerated.
Yeah, I know, right? Like it should have gone out, but that just like Independence Day like destroyed the forest. But like just that scene, like it's slowly happening, and then them walking on the ashes of the ground, and then I feel like even that scene where they're building all that stuff in the human place, like I feel like this is like important stuff that should be paying attention to that might come up later on. Oh, and how they interrogate people with their little just picture an image. Just that's all we want. We want an image. And like, wow, this is the future.
Where is Jake Sully?
Right. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like I dug a lot about this movie. It's probably impossible without me just going over scene by scene about everything I love. Exactly. Just the world, the creatures. I would have liked to see some more of those forest creatures come back. Can they Halo with those monkey things? Hopefully not, because that would be weird. But I don't know. And even to see more forest creatures that we haven't seen before. Like, are there only like 7 species of animals on this planet? Hopefully not. But I don't know. There's more movies coming, so there's more stuff there's more lore that we're going to get into. Just a fantastic world. Like I can consider this compare this a lot to Star Wars. Like, we only have 2 movies, but the world that they have created, they can if they want to have like cartoons now, they want to have like a little side TV show of just those lizards that spin in circles, like have an adventure with them. I don't know. They could have like little Disney shorts of this. I mean,
Disney shorts.
They have so much. They have created this phantasmalic world. Even to see like how like just the humans and how Earth is dying and what's going on that side. Like, you can have a side story of other things happening in the world of Avatar that I feel like can keep this franchise alive. It's definitely a franchise. And I am excited to see what else they're going to do with it. And I will say, like, the first movie, one of the cool things, the first movie opens with Jake opening up his eyes as a human, in cryosleep. And then it ends with him opening up his eyes in the Avatar. Ooh, what a good transition there. But this movie, it has the same exact ending, right? Which I was like, that's kind of cool, It just kind of gets you excited for
tie it
like
all
everything. And it's funny, like, we're so used to Marvel. Did you have to look up DX if there was like an after credit scene or anything?
Yep,
or did
I
you
sure did. No, I looked it up because I was like, I'm not going to sit through this shit if I don't have to. But yeah, it was saying like James Cameron's not a big guy on post credit scenes. He's never done one in any of his movies, so.
It was really late, and I had to wake up early, so I was like, "Bye, Sean." We took off.
Let me know if there's something here. Like,
yeah,
bye, Frigginz.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of fun. Again, if you are still listening and you haven't seen this yet, definitely check it out.
What are you waiting
for?
3D.
We can spoil every moment that happens in the movie, which will, when those moments happen, will hit a little bit less, but it's an experience. It's like, I can tell you how good the steak is.
Words once you taste it, what this looks like.
Yeah,
exactly. Once you taste it, you'll see like a little flash popping up and Superman in the background every now and then of Pandora, like the background of DX's Pandora drop.
They keep sneaking in.
There they are. But yeah, man, it's such a good ride. It's such a cinematic film. It's like it's such a film, and it's going to, people that are saying that they're going to wait till it goes home, like, all right, I appreciate it. Maybe you got this set up, that'll match the theatrical experience.
Nobody
like,
no way.
Ain't nobody.
Ain't nobody ever. All right, man. So let's talk box office real quick. Got a couple notes here. Just obviously finishing up the weekend. We're recording this live on Sunday night, December the 18th. So the early Sunday report has come out. $134 million in its opening weekend. There you go. The original film made $77 million when it came out in 2009. So big difference. Definitely bringing in that money over the weekend. They were forecasting it to be about 150, so it came under what they were forecasting. Where I think what really hurt this film from a box office standpoint is the runtime, right? We talked about 3 hours, 10 minutes. It's a long ass movie, man. So that's a couple less showings every single theater that it can do because of that runtime. So 134 for a 3 hour, 10-minute movie is really, really solid. Yeah. And then top that, it is the first of James Cameron's movies to actually clear the $100 million mark in a single weekend. And worldwide, the movie's already made $435 million. Which is a massive worldwide opening. So, I mean, coming in just close around the $500 million mark in just a couple days is wowzers.
That's nuts. So, and you talk about that runtime. Like my 73-year-old uncle is like, I want to go see this, but I can't sit through that. Back in my day, they used to have intermissions in the middle. It's like, yeah, but that's like 15 minutes less that they're going per movie that they're going to be able to show this. In a day, like they want to squish as much as this movie, as they
imagine
can.
If the movie just stopped in the middle to give an intermission, that would suck. I don't want intermissions, man. It would just ruin the
experience.
I actually experienced that in Titanic, and I was younger, and when it happened, I was like, what is that? Why did it stop? I was so confused. I had no idea what was going on. Yeah, not fun.
And Same. So as we kind of wrap this up now, we go to our final thoughts and scores. Obviously, I think you've heard us all gloat for an hour and a half now on how great this movie is. You know, like I said, like this is the sequel to the biggest movie of all time. There was a short period there where Avengers Endgame took over that title, and then James Cameron said, let's do a re-release. And then it took all the money back and became the #1 movie of all time again. You'd mentioned Titanic earlier, also the third biggest movie of all time, also James Cameron. So we'll see where this one falls, right? I mean, I don't think it'll catch the first movie, but it's, you know, gonna take almost $3 billion to do that, which just is just unheard of these days. But you know, hopefully I mean, if it's made almost 500 million in one weekend, I definitely see it joining the $1 billion club. We just got to see how much money it overall takes. But man, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited that we got this third movie. If everything goes according to plan, we will get this third one in just another year, or 2 years, I should say, in 2024. So hopefully December of 2024, we're getting that third movie. So hopefully not another 13-year wait to get me to a sequel. I like that he's filming these back to back. It's a smart move because then it's going to get them out quicker. And he's able to, you know, knock all these films out in one kind of batch as he has everybody right there ready to film. I was reading a thing about the kids, like when he started filming these, like all the kids like were like 12 and like now they're all like 18 because he's been filming for so goddamn long. They're like, my entire teenager years we're making these movies, you know, so it's crazy like that these kids are literally going to watch themselves grow up in this film series. I obviously loved it, saw it twice, definitely going to see it a third time, if not again. On top of that, my wife actually got sick over the weekend, so she could not go with us when we saw it the second time. So we're already planning next weekend, probably Christmas Eve. We'll probably hit that up. Yep, gives us a reason because she's like, yeah, I got to see it, so got to take her and we'll go see it again. I'm ready. I can't wait to visit Pandora again and go through this. Like I said, awe and wonder. That is the term I like to use. This movie takes us somewhere we've never been, and continues to unravel more to this amazing planet and give us visuals that we never ever thought we'd see. And James Cameron, man, you say never bet against him, right? The guy's never really put out anything bad in his entire career. So have faith in James Cameron. I cannot wait for Avatar 3 and see where this story takes us. You know, will Stephen Lang turn into a good guy? We will see. We will see. I'm pretty sure he will. Spider will turn him. He's going to bond with Spider. But yeah, and hopefully Spider gets an outfit in the next movie as well. But
some pants.
We will go from there. Absolutely love this film. 5 out of 5 for me. Like no doubt, no diggity, no doubt. Didn't even really have anything negative to say about this movie. I just, like I said, especially with that long ass runtime, I don't know another 3-hour movie that I feel doesn't even like make me feel it like that. Like it just flows so much, and the pacing's incredible, and I can't wait to go again. So 5 out of 5 for me. Frigginz, what you got? Final thoughts, score.
Are you doing rankings too, or is that later?
Wow.
What rankings?
I mean, on your
Instagram,
you were like, I don't know if I like this one better or not. I have to go watch it a second time.
I still don't know.
Oh, dang.
We're ranking all James Cameron movies.
I have actually done that, by the way.
I wonder what's your top one.
On my Letterboxd, I have the James Cameron ranking.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Hopefully I'll have that figured out by the third viewing. But you know, and I know Peeps said the same thing, man. Like it's hard. They're very, very neck and neck. Like there's just like what I love about the first one is going on that journey with Jake Sully, right? Like that first one's all about him as a human, like going in to infiltrate these Na'vi and then somehow connecting with them and then feeling like one of them and having that transition. And then this film, him and his next journey with his family and him being fully Na'vi. And like they're just two totally different stories. And I appreciate the ride that both of them took me on. Nothing is easy for me to be like, that's better than that. Like they're just two totally different, fantastical stories. So I'm not sure where I'm at yet. They're both 5 stars. They're both neck and neck for me. So we'll have to see how this one pans out. Like I said, my daughter said the second one's better, but I haven't made that decision yet.
Were you done, Frigginz?
Oh, is it up to me? Sorry. Yeah, for me, final thoughts. I think I said most everything I wanted to say about it. It was absolutely fun time, great film. It will give you emotions. It was very awe-inspiring. I don't say that enough, and I think that really happened a lot watching this, whether it was some of the emotional hits or just the scenery, as I talked about earlier. I find myself, not necessarily in the same spot as I was with the first one, though. So I do have to acknowledge the fact that, like, when I saw that first one, it was about the experiences, about seeing something I never seen before. It was about, getting people to go and experience this. And I think that's why it became so popular, because there's so many people, as you acknowledged, John, doing the same thing. This one for me felt a little different, where I really enjoyed what I saw, had a blast, all those emotions, but I don't have the feeling of necessarily running out and watching it again. I don't think that I'll probably see it again until the third one comes out. I'll rewatch this one to be fresh when the third one comes out. That's not to say that I who knows, maybe something will come up, but like, I can't necessarily see myself running out to check it out again. With all that being said, it's definitely going to be in my top 10 favorite films of 2022. So give you a little spoiler there for our top 10 episode. That
it's
I'm
like
sure
number
we're
10.
Yeah. But with all that, I mean, again, you must see it. It's just a continuation of the ride that started 13 years ago or whatever it was. And you will have emotions and you will see some very beautiful things. So absolutely recommend the 3D, as we said before. Scores, I can't not give it a 5-star. I mean, it was absolutely great. Really, it did have cool action. I know I talked a little downer on that. Again, that was kind of finding those nitpicks, but it was very cool. And like what Sean said, once you said it, like, you reminded me about that hatchet turning it sideways or backwards, and I'm just like, oh, that was really cool. Actually,
one of the rare moments you were speaking in this, you're like, oh wow, that's so cool.
So it's got the action, it's got the heart, it's got the just all the goodness of a film. So 5 stars. Go check it out. I have Avatar 1 over Avatar 2 on my ranking, mostly because I think that being the ride of Jake Sully, like, you go in with him almost. You almost experience the transition into the Avatar and learning through him as you go. And so this one is just, you're watching these animated blue people the whole time. So I think that helped me.
Motion capture, damn it. Motion capture. It's not animated.
I think that the like seeing the human going into the thing, and like they even did the screen where you're like kind of seeing like you're going into it. That helped me to really dive into the film myself. So in that immersion. So I do have the first one over the second one, but that's not to knock the second one. It's very good. Highly recommend.
I can understand where you're coming from with that. I mean, when we talk about the awe and wonder, it's like you're never gonna get what you got from the first movie again, right? Because the first is the first. We had never been to Pandora. We had never seen these creatures. We had never seen Navi. We'd never seen creating a halo and doing all these things. Yeah. That was mind blowing. So of course, seeing it again is cool as shit, but we've seen a lot of it now, right? So it's not new. It's not fresh. It's just, that's why we needed to go to the water and we needed to do some new things, because we've seen so much of it already from the first movie. So I get it, that you're not going to have the same kind of takeaway as that first movie, but that's where you hope that maybe just the journey of the family and the other things that happen in this would bring up the level to kind of match that. So Peeps, where are you at? Final thoughts and score.
Final thoughts and score. Well, I'll flip it up. 5-star. Five Navi Halu tails. Though I do want to know. I want to know what happens. Baby. I want to know what happens when you cut them off. Do they die, or are they just like? That's what I'm telling you. The Savage tribe, they don't have their ponytails. They're cannibals that are outcasts without ponytails.
Interesting.
Just so you know. And whenever a new one's born, they cut off the ponytail. Anyways, so Frigginz, I have no reason to go see this movie again by myself. but this is a film that if I had as many friends as I did, like 13 years ago, I would say, hey, human, have you seen this movie? Let's go see it. Because I enjoy that. I enjoy taking people to the movies with me to give them the experience. Like if it was
me too. Yeah.
When I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once super late. Like it was like on the last like couple weeks of its run. If I had seen that movie earlier, like when it first came out, I would have probably seen that movie like 89 times in the theater, just bringing people. Hey, homeless man, have you seen Everything Everywhere? Let's go. Like I want, like I said, I was looking over at my children's as I watched the movie, and I love their expression. So for that, I will probably go if I can find some random people on the streets that want to go see the movie.
You gotta take them back to see it in 3D, dude.
That is true.
That gives you a reason right there. The kids got to see it in 3D.
That's just reason. That's just time number 3. I mean, there's probably going to be like 10 more. So, but yeah, I want to re-experience that through other people. So, yeah, and I hope that this doesn't happen with this movie in terms of it not being as successful. I think an element of film that we have today that we didn't have 12, 13 years ago is platforms like TikTok and YouTube. So people live and die through those things where they're like, I don't know if I should watch this movie. I'm going to wait until, Spooderman 73. I'm going to see what he says about it. And I think that, before, like, we only had a couple people that we used to listen to movie reviews through, and that would be it. Siskel and Ebert, what do they say? All right, they like it, let's go watch it. But now there's so many opinions about movies, and if 2 or 3 people just absolutely hate this movie and just bash it, I mean, it's going to affect tons of other people. I don't want to be the kind of reviewer that tells you what to do. You should definitely go check out all movies and all films and have your own opinion. We all have our own. You should be able to make your own as well. So I hope stuff like that doesn't mess up the potential for this movie performing well in theaters. But yeah, man, just overall a blast. Kiddos had a blast. This is a movie for all ages. There's violence, there's blood, there's one F word as always, and and at this point, if you haven't seen the first movie and you're still just on the fence about this whole thing, it's probably no help for you in life. But no, man, like if you've seen the first movie and you enjoyed it, this movie gives you everything the first movie gave you and more, and then some. So just watch it is all I'm saying. So
just watch it.
Yeah,
just watch it.
There you go. 3 5 out of 5s. Audience rating on this thing is 94%. Nice. On Rotten Tomatoes, so super massive. Nice. Critics are about the 80% mark. It's critics, they're super picky about everything. But 94% from the audience, and that's really what matters, right? What drives movie going is the audience. So I think that almost that score is something that people look at more these days, just to kind of get that general consensus. So seems everybody's really liking this and having fun with it, and it's going to be fun to see how it rides out over the next couple months and then kind of where we end up box office wise. But hey, 3 5 out of 5s is pretty rare when it comes to this show. So I hope that means something and shows you guys, like, if you are listening and being like, I don't want to watch that thing, and then by the end of this you're like, you know what, maybe I should watch that thing because they enjoyed it so much, and I think you will like it.
Definitely.
So we're going to wrap up here, guys. This has been the Avatar Way of Water spoiler review. Thank you so much. And once again, let's find out where we could find everybody. So Frigginz, tell them.
Well, the easiest place to find me right now is on Twitter and Instagram at Frigginz. That's Frigginz, Frigginz with a Z. Also here on Red Dragons Radio, I get to be a guest once in a while on the Am I Still on the Air podcast that you're listening to now, where we do the fun movie reviews with these lovely gentlemen. Also, occasionally, my boy Peeps will invite me onto his show, which he'll probably talk about here in a second. So I won't steal your thunder, Peeps. But also on reddragonsradio.com. we are presently on a little hiatus, but I do a show called Become Legend on the Free Forge. That will be the second half of our season. The end of our season is going to be airing on YouTube, so that'll be under youtube.com/ the Free Forge. That should be coming out early next year, so right around January. I know say next year seems like it's forever. It's like literally 2 weeks from now. So be sure to check that out. All our old shows are on Twitch, so that's twitch.tv / the Free Forge. You can find Become Legend there, and that's a little TTRPG, D&D style game action. If you like
a lot of acronyms.
Yes, it was a lot of letters. If you like League of Legends or the Arcane show, check it out. It's really fun stuff. And that's about it for me right now.
There you go. Peeps, tell them.
Hey, for my peoples right there on the Twitters. If you want to yell at me and tell me how much you appreciate and like my words about everything. I also do a podcast, The People's Forum, spelled the same way as my Twitter for peoples. Lately I've just been talking about a lot of Marvel DC stuff. I definitely want to spin my way into just films and TV, but life is busy. So but that is the goal eventually. As Frigginz said, I occasionally will have him on. I will also have DX DONMEGA on as well. I think the last time DX and I were on, we were talking about some Barbarian, so that was fun. But yeah, do the podcast thing. Always check out the reddragonsradio.com with People's Forum is there with a lot of other stuff that you might hear about here shortly. And that's my thing.
There you go. Barbarian you can stream now on HBO Max, so check it out.
It's true.
And of course, for us here, the show is at Am I on the Air on Twitter, amiontheair.com, the best way to find everything that you need. And of course, Red Dragons Radio, you've heard that term all throughout the night. reddragonsradio.com, where you can find all these shows and kind of get your podcast fix. You see it scrolling there at the bottom. We're on all your favorite podcast platforms, so make sure you find us wherever you like. And then, of course, we're on the TikTok, we're on the Instagram. We're on obviously YouTube, so make sure you subscribe and follow along. And you can follow me right at DXDonMega on Twitter as well. Same thing, Instagram and all that good stuff. So it is all right there for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to listen to other Am I Still on the Airs, make sure you check out, once again, reddragonsradio.com. You can check out right here on the YouTube channel. There is a playlist that says Am I Still on the Air? And you can watch all our previous videos where we talk about movies and different things. We got a lot of other stuff cooking. I still would like to, hopefully for the end of the year at some point, do our Phase 4 countdown that we've talked about for Marvel. Now that Phase 4 is complete with the holiday special, that we would rank out all the movies and television shows in Phase 4. So that is on the agenda, along with obviously at the beginning of next year, our traditional annual top 10 countdown of the year, along with our top 10 most anticipated of 2023. So always a fun show to do. So those are right around the corner. So make sure you keep an eye on all the social medias so you know what is what. But that will do it for us here tonight. Hope you all have an amazing week. Have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and everything out there. So hopefully happy holidays to all. And if we don't see you again till next year, Happy New Year. And we'll catch you on the next go around. So till next time, y'all. Peace.
Red Dragons!